When are we getting this movie though? Welcome back, my fellow gamers. This is Top 10 Gaming and I'm your host, Amanda McKnight. Today we are talking all things FNAF theories when it comes to the highly anticipated movie that we don't know too much about yet. We know that Scott Cawthon said late last year that they had finally settled on a screenplay, which was referred to as the Mike screenplay. We know as well that he said filming was slated to start in spring of 2021 thanks to a Reddit post, and that's all about it. So like with most things FNAF, we have more theories and questions than answers. Join me as we attempt to sort out some of those questions and speculate on what could be coming our way within this film as we count down the top 10 FNAF movie theories. Let's get counting. Number 10, Jack Black. Because of Jack Black's love of FNAF, with him playing it on Markiplier's channel with his son and making FNAF TikToks, people have theorized that he might be in the movie. Casting and updates on production have been slim to none, and while we know the film was slated to start filming this spring, we don't really know if it's started yet or what is going on or when it was actually set to start other than spring or who is in it. So many questions. Still, considering Jack Black's interests and the fact that he is a talented and all-around entertaining actor, I would not be surprised if he appeared in the film. The question is, who should he play? Phone guy? William Afton? One of the employees at Freddy Fazbear's? Or maybe he could be Scott Cawthon himself at some point in the movie. Scott Cawthon, after all, has inserted himself into the world as a game developer.
Five Nights at Freddy's. That's where I wanna be. Five Nights at Freddy's.
Number 9. Rating. The rating for the film is definitely something many of us have pondered on. Many people love FNAF, including younger kids. With that being a consideration, who the targeted demographic is for this film, and the varied ages in terms of its fan base, because I mean, it's not just kids, a lot of us love FNAF, it is possible that we'll see the rating of this film be lowered for this reason, in terms of what they'll be allowed to actually show. It makes the most sense that it'll be PG or PG-13 for this reason. If that is the case, the film will have to be careful in terms of what it shows or even implies, as a PG rating means that only some of the content is allowed to even be considered unsuitable for kids. Only some, and even considered. So many of the themes that we see in the games will have to be modified, cut, or made less scary somehow. The other theory with the rating is that we'll get one that more promotes and allows for the level of horror that we would expect. But in that case, the film would have to be a little bit more exclusive, with most children probably not being allowed to go see it. Either way, it seems we're going to have a problem when it comes to what is in the film in terms of horror components and who can actually go see it. And friends, before we move on to our next spot in the video, if you want to see this movie and you are concerned about the rating, or you're just like, let me see it, be sure to give us a thumbs up. It's true, when you give this video a thumbs up, it actually increases the speed at which the FNAF movie is produced. Number 8. Part of the multiverse. It's really hard to contemplate the potential for this film to be canon. I mean, we have all the Fazbear Frights books, and I mean, there's also more coming, and it really depends on who you talk to as to what level of canon they consider those books to be, if they include them in the game canon at all. I personally feel like while there are contradictions between the world of the books and the world of the games, it is possible that both of these could exist within the same world if we just acknowledge the existence of a FNAF multiverse. Then everything gets to be relevant, and some things can even overlap in terms of similar stories and explanations for characters. With the film, we could also see the introduction of a new universe belonging to the FNAF multiverse. That then not only gives us answers, but also helps us to connect the dots, as well as undoubtedly giving us more questions. Because, this is still FNAF after all while being able to connect to the games and book canon, while still being able to have enough differences to keep us guessing and interested. Give me a FNAF multiverse, let's acknowledge it. Number 7. Stitch Wraith? Another theory that I have is that we will actually get to see some crossover between the books and the film, with the appearance of the villain known as Stitch Wraith. In fact, I'm even thinking we might not see Stitch Wraith in the games until after their appearance in the film. The Stitch Wraith, being a seemingly methodical villain, could make for a good ally for a mastermind who is working behind the scenes and pulling all the strings. Stitch Wraith might not have as big of a role in the film, but appear in a post-credits scene and help to set up a FNAF franchise, being an important villain shrouded in mystery, whose true purpose and master is revealed later on down the line. Kinda like we see in the books. Number 6. Springtrap. One of the scariest animatronics around is definitely Springtrap, which is the hybrid suit that William Afton wore and later found himself trapped in when he was spring-locked and impaled while wearing it. Springtrap is the main antagonist of Five Nights at Freddy's 3. In FNAF 3 we face hallucinations which can terrorize us, as well as the very real threat of Springtrap, which comes with William Afton's body inside it, controlling the suit. Just the idea of a human being who became impaled by a bunch of springs and mechanics and trapped within a suit, each step creating agonizing pain as those locks and springs grind against your bones, is horrific. Also, just the visual image of an animatronic that seems to be oozing something bodily, some blood or pus with real eyes, it creates a powerful and haunting visual that would make for a compelling villain throughout the film. I'm just saying. Number 5. FNAF 1. The film will take inspiration from the first game, at least that's what we've been led to believe. This theory has been based around things Scott Cawthon said on Reddit and suggested the main protagonist of the film will be the security guard that we play as in the first game, and will expand on his story. The security guard is named Mike Schmidt, and many believe that this is an alias that is actually used by Michael Afton, William's son, who accepted the job for a yet unconfirmed purpose, but one that is highly speculated to be heroic or investigatory in nature. As such, the film is believed to have centered around Michael Afton, who will of course become the protagonist and possibly hero of this story. Number 4. Scott Cawthon plays Phone Guy. Obviously, we are all going to lose our minds if we don't get a Scott cameo or Easter egg somewhere in this film, but if we are going the way of FNAF 1, I think it would only be fitting if Scott reprised his role of Phone Guy, personally. He could of course just provide the voice for the character, who we may also never see in the film, just like in the game, but I think we are all hoping and expecting to see his face show up somewhere on screen, even if it's only briefly. I personally know I would love to at least get a single scene with Scott as Phone Guy where we see what ended up happening to him, or simply get a tease as to his gruesome fate on screen. There are a lot of ways that Scott as Phone Guy could make an appearance that would be satisfying and entertaining. Number 3. The franchise. If the FNAF movie focuses on FNAF 1, most people also expect, like with the games and books, we could see more films planned out, depending on the success of this one of course. Ideally, this FNAF movie could be a jumping off point for a whole series of films and a film franchise based around the games and even books at some point as well. It is possible that with this film, Scott and the studio could already be setting stuff up that will come into play later down the line, not just considering this film as a standalone story, but as a piece to a much larger, more intricate puzzle, like we've seen with other successful video game inspired film franchises and comics inspired film franchises besides. Number 2. Bite of 87. Another idea for the film is that it will be the precursor to FNAF 1 and simply focus on it in terms of setting it up. We could see the beginnings of the restaurant be its focus, or at least see an element of that included, perhaps focusing on the mystery of the Bite of 87. And maybe we'll also get like a younger Mike in this movie, and also answering the mysteries behind the Bite of 87. This could be the film that sets up the world and with it establishes a more clear narrative in terms of the accidents that took place and who is at fault. It is also weird that I would actually be really into a sort of murder mystery vibe for a film that dives into the Bite of 87. Is that weird? Was it Mangle? I mean, I need to know. I have so many questions. Things are still unclear. Just give me a movie that explains the timeline. That would be magic to me. Number 1. William Afton's origins. One of the things that I feel like would be the most earth-shattering if it were to appear would be the origin story for William Afton. It would be amazing if we got a film centered on him and his life, which helped us to understand just why he became a murderer, and what his motives are. Was Afton a well-intentioned business owner and family man and something happened to him? Or did he always have more sinister intentions when it came to the Fazbear franchise? Is his story real? Or does it perhaps only exist in video games made by the company who created Help Wanted and who are interested in simply sensationalizing an accident that happened at a real restaurant? It would be crazy if it turned out to be that meta of reasoning as to like why he exists, but in a weird way it could also make a lot of sense and solve a lot of like weird plot holes that we have. Either way, if we get some hints even to this huge question mark that is William Afton and why he kills, that would be amazing. Of course, with Scott, it tends to be a ratio of 1 to 10 for questions answered to questions created, so we'll have to wait and see if we get any answers or stories explaining this, and if we do, how many more questions they then create. What do you think will happen in the FNAF movie? Who do you think will be the main characters and survivors? Who do you think will be the main antagonist? Let us know in the comments below. This has been Top 10 Gaming, and I'm your host Amanda McKnight, reminding you to keep on gaming on. Pew pew!